Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of MTN Outdoors. I'm your host Keith Grevenitz here in the beautiful Helena, Lewis and Clark National Forest, and it's the first full week of general hunting season. If you do harvest a deer, it's important to know that you can get it tested for CWD, chronic wasting disease. It's a disease that affects deer, elk, and moose. So before you put it in your freezer, you want to make sure that that's all set. And then deer around the city. These are urban deer. The police are coordinating with FWP to find out how many urban deer they are before they do a culling. And what happens with that meat? Let's find out.
Opening weekend of hunting season is kind of like the first day at the ski resort. Everybody's excited, they got their gear out and they want to get out there and have some fun. So we are anticipating a pretty busy start to the season.
Hunters were out in full force on Saturday across northwest Montana as general deer and elk season officially kicked off. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Park spokesman Dylan Tabish says hunters need to follow rules and regulations closely to make sure everyone has a safe season.
Just really important to kind of go through that mental checklist like you remember from hunter education, safety with the firearms. Make sure you got your hunter's orange on, make sure you got your licenses, just kind of going through that checklist.
Tabish says hunters are not required to have their game tested for chronic wasting disease, but it is recommended.
And so it's just a good way to be sure that your animal doesn't have CWD. It's not recommended if your animal is positive that you eat it. If you do have a positive animal though, we will give you a new license. So you just got to work with us, give us that animal, we'll give you a new license.
Hunters are required to stop at check stations like this one just west of Kalispell, going to or coming from the field, with or without game.
First off, they're required by law to stop. It's one of the responsibilities of the privilege to hunt is to come through the hunter check station.
FWP wildlife biologist Franz Engelfinger says hunters provide valuable information about the harvest during check-in stops.
Primarily, we're looking at age structure of the harvest. So we collect teeth, and that gives us a sense of age structure, which helps us look at what the population is doing as a whole.
In Kalispell, Sean Wells, MTN News.
One of the draws of living in Montana is our wildlife. From Carroll to the capital, Helena's home to numerous wild animals.
You don't realize how much wildlife is in town and how active it is until you get out at night when it's quiet and still.
The Helena Police urban wildlife officers are wrapping up their annual urban deer count. The city started conducting the deer count back in 2008 to manage Helena's deer population better. Officers go out at night, shining spotlights in yards and alleyways along a predetermined route to count the animals.
The algorithm that we use determines on the consistency or accuracy, I guess, of what we're counting.
For the past 2 weeks, officers have been counting deer. It can be long nights, but this is the best way to get an idea for the deer population here in Helena. Next, the data collected is going to head over to Fish, Wildlife and Parks.
We run that through a modeling program that produces density estimates. From those density estimates, we approve a quota for them to remove during the winter trapping season.
Parsons says an overpopulation would cause problems not just for the deer, but humans too. Avoiding conflicts between the wild animals, humans and pets is the ultimate goal. Over the last 5 years, FWP saw an increase in average deer per square mile by over 20 deer, with almost 500 deer joining the population within city limits. The final numbers are still being tallied, but officers believe they will continue to see growth this year. McCarthy works to educate the public on deer to minimize their activity in our neighborhoods. He's also hoping to start a new program to haze the deer or push them outside city limits and where hunting is allowed.
Utilizing something like a buffer zone, some sort of threat presence around the area as these deer are trying to migrate into town, may help actually reduce the population within the town as well.
In the coming months, we'll update you with an official tally. In Helena, Evan Charney, MTN News.
Chronic wasting disease, or CWD. It's in some populations of deer in Montana. This hunting season, Fish, Wildlife and Parks will once again be taking samples from hunters in an effort to learn more about the disease.
So every year, every new batch of data we get, we learn more about how the disease is changing. And then additionally, FWP actually works with other agencies, national entities, to try to better understand CWD and also refine our management and make it the most effective it could be.
CWD has severely damaged deer populations in other places. FWP working to make sure that doesn't happen here in Montana. That's why hunter participation is so crucial.
We are worried about whether or not there will be a decrease in populations over the long term. Again, this takes a really long time to happen, so we need to have our samples and understand it, and then if we manage it, we're hoping that we can preserve the hunting traditions in Montana for generations to come.
CWD sampling sites are spread across the state, but a little internet research can make it so hunters can take their own samples.
But you can also go onto our website and learn how to collect and sample yourself. And then you need to bring it into an FWP office or a CWD sampling station, and all of those locations are also on our website. And then we can use that to get it tested. And usually test results come back in around 7 days.
Fish, Wildlife and Parks has been testing for CWD since 1998, and the disease was first identified in wild deer populations back in 2017. Last year, 1,157 hunters submitted samples for testing, the largest number since testing began in Montana. In the Jefferson River Valley, Chet Lehman, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. We'll be right back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back to MTN Outdoors, and when we think about the Montana outdoors, we probably think about a place like this. In the mountains, in the wilderness, animals probably not too far off, birds chirping, trails to head out on and take in the outdoors. But down in the valleys, there are ranches and farms that are raising our animals and producing our crops. Big industry here in Montana. This is an agriculture state. So we're going to look into some stories about what's happening in agriculture in Montana right now and how the government shutdown has been affecting farmers. Take a look.
This barn now calls Summer Star Ranch home, and it may just look like four walls, but what's on the inside is a rich history, and the ranch is working to bring those stories back to life.
My wife looked at the barn and she just fell in love with it and said, I want that barn.
Matthew Daw and his wife Star have been running Summer Star Ranch since 2005. They want to bring people a real Montana experience through their weddings and cabins.
Just get a chance to show people that have never been to Montana what Montana is really about.
And the Treasure State is all about its rich history and humble beginnings, just like the newest member of the family.
We have always been about saving the past.
Saving old cabins and wagons, too.
It's a lot more than just a brand new building in a beautiful location.
The barn is more than what meets the eye. It belonged to Eddie Barbeau, an Ojibwe elder that worked to unify the Helena area's diverse Indian population.
We're going to do a little dedication in the barn for him.
You can still see the impact he left behind on the barn's door. A memento that recognizes his work training sled dogs at Camp Rumini during World War II.
To see a barn like this and all he did in his lifetime, which is pretty tremendous when you look back at his history and the impacts that he made, not only in Helena, but in the United States, for us, that was an added bonus.
Back in 2006, the couple fell in love with the old barn that sat where Super One is today, but it just wasn't feasible to haul to the property. But now, nearly 20 years after love at first sight, multiple moves, and a fire, the historic Red Barn belongs to Star and Matthew, with stories they could have never imagined.
There's buried history in there that I haven't found yet, and I'm really looking forward to when we get it done and just being able to see it in the way that it was almost 100 years ago.
And as for what's next, they are preserving the structure's history with the first step putting the barn on a foundation in the spring.
But we're going to keep everything historic to what it was. The colors are going to be the same. She's just going to get cleaned up and get a nice fresh coat of paint.
They will eventually house horses in the barn, but memorializing Eddie and the barn's past matters most.
We got to save part of his legacy.
In York, Madeline Heath, MTN News.
It's now going on 23 days since the government shutdown, leading to negative impacts for some Montana farmers.
This government shutdown really couldn't come at a worse time.
I spoke with Ty Kraft, a fifth-generation farmer in Bozeman.
Yeah, I feel really lucky to get to do what I love to do.
Kraft tells me his farm grows
Horse hay and small grains.
I asked Ty if he's noticed any impacts from the government shutdown so far.
There hasn't been any direct impact on us.
Well, Kraft hasn't noticed any shutdown-related impacts. Other farmers have.
America's farmers and ranchers, we're facing an economic storm that we really haven't seen for years.
Scott Kolbeck is the executive vice president of the Montana Farm Bureau Federation.
We're the voice of agriculture in Montana.
Kolbeck tells me Montana farmers are being impacted by the shutdown in several ways.
Without those USDA county offices open, farmers are having a hard time getting access to important resources like disaster payments and loans.
Disaster payments help protect farmers during difficult economic times, ranging from natural disasters to low commodity prices.
Those disaster payments bridge the gap, so to speak, when times are tough.
Now, local Farm Service Agency offices are set to reopen Thursday, potentially alleviating those issues. Another impact, Kolbeck says, the absence of critical USDA reports.
We don't have a team of economists telling us when it's best to sell or what the market outlook is looking like. And we depend on a lot of those statistics that USDA puts together in those reports to make those economic decisions.
The government shutdown effects don't stop there. Walter Schweitzer, a third-generation farmer and president of the Montana Farmers Union, tells me the government shutdown has been especially detrimental to farmers living on a shoestring budget.
Any commodities that they've sold since the shutdown, they haven't been paid for.
As Schweitzer tells me, the checks that farmers receive for selling commodities need to be signed off before they're deposited.
Especially in the rural communities in Montana, the farmers are the base of their economy. If farmers can't pay their bills, if farmers are waiting to get paid, it's going to just cause a delay.
For organizations I spoke to, the main goal is for farmers to get through what they call this economic storm.
We don't shut down when times are tough, and so we don't think that the government should shut down either.
In Bozeman, Isha Walia, MTN News.
Fifth-generation Montana farmer Kara Ronan was nervous when the government shut down 22 days ago.
A lot of operating loans are serviced or housed in the FSA at our USDA offices, and with those offices closed, we can't have checks that pay our bills and ourselves being signed.
Now the USDA has announced they will be reopening approximately 2,100 Farm Service Agency offices across the country on Thursday.
Checks being signed and some deposits going into bank accounts and some farmers being paid so that we can keep running our operations, I think is the most imperative thing at this point in time.
The offices perform essential services for farmers, such as processing payments and assisting with loans.
Our USDA office is a critical backbone infrastructure piece of what farmers and ranchers rely on in their community.
Without these offices, farmers go unpaid, and that's when the trouble starts.
You know it's bad when farmers and ranchers are going to have to think about showing up to food banks to feed themselves. I don't know if we're quite at that point yet, but it's getting there. People are wondering how they're going to pay for groceries.
This office in Billings is one of the thousands that will be reopening tomorrow. Each office will have 2 employees working, but with how much these farmers rely on the employees, Ronan still has her worries about the farmers getting their needs met.
They're having to take on the roles of all the, what they're saying, critically important operations. Well, what's deemed critically important?
According to a Wednesday post on X from U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, the USDA employees will be working without pay. In Billings, Vanessa Willardson, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. Stay tuned for more Montana magic.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back to MTN Outdoors. And off in the distance behind me, you You can see the city of Helena. It's quite beautiful to see from here. And with that being said, we are in fall. I am now wearing a jacket. It's getting a little warm for the jacket, but winter's right around the corner, and there are many precautions that are being taken to make sure that you're safe, and there are some other ones that you can take to make sure that you and your family are warm and safe this winter. So let's take a look at some of these stories that are all about the changing seasons and how we're getting ready and the changes that are coming for us as Montanans.
Today, we're going to be talking about simulations. No, not those type of simulations. The type of simulations that help Montana Department of Transportation train our future plow truck drivers. You got the hang of it?
Got the hang of it pretty quick.
Heath Milne moved to Montana a month ago to work for the Montana Department of Transportation.
Never snow plowed before, but driven a big rig for the last 6 to 7 years.
He is one of 9 new plow truck drivers MDT is training for the upcoming snow season. But they're training these drivers in a whole new way. Was it cool?
It was fantastic. I mean, going into the simulator kind of gave me the guidance to kind of show me where I needed to be on the road, what to look for.
These drivers who have never stepped foot into a plow truck before are learning through a simulation experience.
So I'm going to give you a simulation of a urban freeway. Drive it like a real truck, treat this like a real scenario.
Trevor Patterson is the man running this simulation rodeo, but he is no stranger to the real deal. He ran plow trucks for 10 years and tells me these simulators...
So in terms of accuracy, I'd say around 80 to 90% accurate.
This simulator is an exact replica of the new plow trucks MDT will be cruising in this year, all the way from the buttons to the steering wheel. And for $600,000, this simulator really can replicate just about anything. Icy roads, blown tires, even changing the behavior of the drivers around the plow.
So I can set them to have aggressive, normal behavior, stop quickly, I can make them a DUI driver.
And I got to hop up into the driver's seat and try this thing out for myself.
So when you were ready, you can put your plow down.
All right. Oh my God. And everything was going smoothly until Trevor locked one of my brakes. Woo! Okay, I'm assuming that's ice.
So that's actually a brake locking.
Oh, that's a brake locking out. Okay. Oh, yeah. I have to say, this simulation is pretty cool. And it's the first time MDT has ever used it for training.
So it's a lot safer, better training for our employees equals better employees, less downtime, less damage to equipment, as well as safer road conditions for the general public.
After simulation training, these drivers head outside and try out the real deal. For Trevor, he tells me it puts a smile on his face, seeing new folks getting into this career.
Knowing that what you're doing is being the front line for emergency services to get through. It's your job to make the roadway safe and keeping the public safe.
If you have any interest in becoming a plow truck driver yourself, Trevor tells me MDT is always in need. In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.
It's beginning to feel more and more like winter, with ski and snowboard season fast approaching. And on Friday, Red Lodge Mountain announced that the triple chair will once again be operational following a tragedy at the end of last ski season. It was a moment that rattled not just Montana, but the entire country.
This one was just such an unfortunate confluence of circumstances.
On March 10th, when 37-year-old Jeff Zenny was killed due to accidental blunt force after powerful winds knocked him from the triple chairlift.
It's very rare to have a death on a ski lift in the United States. The last one before this one was in 2016.
That moment led to the closure of the lift for the season, and also discussion about lift safety from experts like Wyoming ski blogger Peter Landsman.
Mr. Zinni was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
On Friday, the mountain announced on Facebook that the lift would reopen at the start of this season, following some extensive repairs. They wrote, "We involved independent experts, including professional weather forecasters and structural engineers, and have taken steps not only to repair but also to add redundant safety measures to the triple chair. Those modifications include the reinforcement of towers and haul ropes, as well as the installation of more anemometers."
It sounds like they've added a number of them down the line so you can see what the lift is doing, not just at the very top, but all along the line, both direction and speed.
Landsman says the anemometers will help give the mountain more accurate wind speed readings along the lift line instead of just at the bottom or the top.
That's particularly important on this lift because it's a very long lift. You can't see the whole line from either the bottom or the top.
Modifications Landsman says are encouraging, but he says he was surprised that restraint bars weren't mentioned as well.
I think in a perfect world, every ski resort operator would want as many of the chairs on their mountain to have restraint bars as possible.
Those bars are required on any new chairlift built today. The Landsman recognized that on an older lift like the triple chair, it could be a challenge.
So I'm guessing they looked at it and they weren't able to do it for this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the future at some point this lift gets restraint bars.
MTN got a hold of the Red Lodge Mountain leadership, who says they'll be more prepared to speak about the upgrades next week. Landsman says it's clear that they have done what they can this summer to make visitors safe.
Certainly, I would have no qualms about getting on this lift anytime this season.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
If you've got your old winter gear sitting around, well, it's time to take it to your closest Bozeman school because their warm winter drive is back and better than ever.
This is another great example of a coat that we could take. It's nice and thick.
You may recognize Amelia Huba. She's the program associate for Family School Services and she runs the Warm Winter Drive.
As you know, it gets down to -20 pretty frequently here. So the Warm Winter Drive aims to make sure that every student in the valley has the appropriate winter clothing that'll fit them and keep them warm.
Amelia tells me last year's Warm Winter Drive was a huge success.
Last year was our biggest year to date. We had about 250 students requesting items. And we got about $10,000 of donations,
providing students with warm and cute, I might add, winter clothes like this Andrew Mark jacket you see here. This year, Amelia invited me back because the need is bigger than ever for those warm winter clothes.
This morning when I checked, we had 351 students asking for items, which is a huge increase. The first year that I was here, it was around 50 students.
That's 351 kids in need of warm clothes for this upcoming Montana winter. A number that might shock some people, but in reality,
we also have several students that are staying in shelters like Haven or Family Promise or HRDC. Families sometimes are living in their vehicle or not housed at the current moment.
Anna Edwards is the Family School Service Coordinator. She works with families to ensure they receive what they're entitled to under the McKinney-Vento Act, a federal law that guarantees equal access to education for all students despite their social status.
Pre-K through 12th grade, last year we had over 200 students that qualified for McKinney-Vento. We had over 200 the year before as well. That number has just increased.
Which is why Anna says it's crucial to be able to provide students not only with warm clothes, but any materials they need to get through high school.
We do have a shelf at both Gallatin and Bozeman High School. A lot of what we provide and a lot of the donations that are needed are food items,
as well as cleaning supplies, feminine products, hygiene items, all the way to deodorant. If you're looking to help out these students, Amelia tells me here's one way to start.
We are accepting donations at all 12 of the schools as well as the Dry Fly Saloon. We are trying to get all of the students all of the items that they requested before Thanksgiving break.
Amelia tells me they've only received a few donations so far. They're hoping to see many more roll in before Thanksgiving.
Such a great feeling to know that we've again taken that kind of stress and pressure off of the parents, and the kids always get so excited to again have clothing that looks like that of their peers, to have something brand new for the season.
To learn more about the Warm Winter Drive, visit our website. In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.